The journey to wealth is a process, and it starts with your mindset. This isn't about a lottery win or a shortcut to the top. It's about following a set of principles that have stood the test of time. You see, wealth is not just about what you earn. It's about how you think, how you act, and more importantly, how you respond to life's challenges. It's about looking at opportunities, and instead of thinking, I can't, you think, how can I make this work? Let me break it down for you. Step by step, how you can change your financial future starting today. The first thing I want you to understand is that wealth isn't created overnight, but the process can be accelerated if you have the right focus, habits, and principles. You've got to stop waiting for a perfect opportunity. Wealth doesn't come to the passive. It comes to the doers, the ones who understand the principles and then take bold action. The second thing I'll tell you is, riches follow discipline. Wealth isn't built by impulse or by living paycheck to paycheck. It's about delayed gratification. It's about living on less than you earn, saving the difference, and then investing that difference with patience. You don't just earn money, you work hard for it, you save it, you multiply it, and most importantly, you protect it. But there's a trap here. The trap of the get-rich-quick mentality. Every day I see people wasting their time, money, and energy on schemes that promise fast results, but don't require work. These are distractions. They pull you away from real financial success. The truth is, money doesn't work like that. You can't skip the process and expect to win. If you try, you'll only end up farther behind. Instead, start with small wins. Small wins lead to big victories. Build the habit of wealth, bit by bit. That means understanding the true cost of everything, what's worth investing your time, energy, and money into, and what's just a waste. Now, here's the kicker. Wealth is not just about earning, it's about multiplying. Think of every dollar you save, every dollar you invest, as a soldier working for you, day in and day out, without rest. Your goal is to turn your money into soldiers. They'll work 24/7, bringing in more soldiers, and over time, this army of soldiers will create a fortress of wealth that no one can tear down. And here's the most important principle of all. Wealth is in your mind long before it's in your bank account. Your mindset creates your reality. If you think rich, you will act rich. If you think poor, you will act poor. It all starts in the mind. I've seen it firsthand in my own life. When I started, I didn't have the luxury of a rich uncle or a family fortune. But I did have the ability to change my thoughts, to change my actions, and to change my future. That's why I'm here today sharing this with you. I want you to understand that financial freedom is a series of decisions that compound over time. It's not about magic, it's about commitment, consistency, and mastering the law of money. Are you ready to take the first step? Are you ready to start thinking and acting like the wealthy? If so, then buckle up. The journey to true wealth starts with you. And there's no better time than now to get started. That's the truth of wealth. It's yours for the taking, but only if you're willing to act boldly, think clearly, and work relentlessly. One of the first truths you must understand about money is that income doesn't grow from wishing, it grows from working. And not just any work, but the kind that adds value. If you're not earning enough, the question isn't what the economy is doing or what your boss is paying, it's what you're becoming. Your income is a reflection of your value to the marketplace. And if you want to earn more, you've got to become more. That's where the real journey begins. I remember when I first started out, I was broke, not just financially, but mentally. I didn't yet understand that money moves toward value. I thought if I worked hard enough, if I clocked enough hours, I'd eventually get rich. But I learned something powerful. The market doesn't pay for time. It pays for contribution. It pays for solutions. It pays for effectiveness. And when I stopped measuring my progress by the clock and started measuring it by the value I could bring, everything changed. You don't get paid for showing up. You get paid for showing up prepared, skilled, and sharp. The janitor and the executive might both work 8 hours, but their income is not based on the time. They're based on their ability to impact So if your income has plateaued, that's a gentle nudge from the marketplace saying it's time to upgrade your value. Don't take it personally. Take it seriously. And how do you become more valuable? You study, you read, you observe, you practice, learn a high-value skill, sales, leadership, communication, marketing, investing. These are the tools that move money. Develop your ability to think clearly, solve problems quickly, and lead people consistently. The more problems you can solve, the more doors you open and the more money you attract. I once asked a mentor, "How do I double my income?" He said, "Simple, triple your value." That's the equation. It's not overnight, but it's reliable. And you can start today. Start by asking better questions. Start by solving little problems, then bigger ones. Get so good at what you do that people seek you out. When you're in demand, your income will chase you. You won't need to chase it anymore. If you become more intelligent, more disciplined, more strategic, your money will grow to reflect that. It has no choice. Because the marketplace is always fair, it doesn't respond to need, it responds to value. So the secret is not to complain about wages, the secret is to rise above them. When you increase your value, you change your financial destiny. Most people wake up every morning and go to work to earn money. And that's fine for a season. But if that's your only plan, you'll always be limited. Because you only have so many hours, and sooner or later you run out of time, run out of energy, or run into life. That's why one of the greatest shifts you'll ever make in your financial journey is when you stop just working for money and start making money work for you. Now, I've always said, labor is honorable, but labor must eventually lead to leverage. You can't dig a well with a teaspoon and hope to fill an ocean. You need systems. You need investments. You need strategies that multiply what you earn, so that even when you sleep, your money is wide awake working, earning, producing. Because if you only trade time for dollars, you'll always be one missed day away from financial collapse, and that's no way to live. I remember early on in my career, I was putting in long hours hard work, honest work, but I was always tired, and I was always waiting for that next paycheck. One day, a mentor pulled me aside and asked, "What happens if you get sick for a week?" I said, "Well, I won't earn anything." He looked me in the eye and said, "Then you don't have a business. You have a job and you're your only employee." That moment changed how I thought about money. Wealthy people don't just work for income, they build income machines. They write books that pay royalties. They invest in companies that pay dividends. They buy real estate that pays rent. They build businesses that pay them even when they're not there. That's the secret. They build pipelines, not just buckets. A bucket earns when it's full. A pipeline earns as long as it flows. And while the poor spend their life carrying buckets, the wealthy spend time building systems. You don't need to start big. You can start small. Take a portion of your income and invest it. Maybe in a mutual fund, maybe in a skill that'll pay you back many times over, or maybe in starting a small side business. The key is to stop thinking like a laborer and start thinking like an owner. An owner owns something that works 7 when they don't. And the beautiful part is, once money starts working for you, everything changes. Your time becomes freer. Your decisions become bolder. You stop worrying about the clock and start focusing on contribution. And the more you contribute, the more value you create, and the more money shows up to work for you. The poor trade energy for survival. The wealthy trade wisdom for freedom. So if you want to live wealthy, build something that earns while you rest. There's a common misunderstanding out there that success is about luck, that wealth is about being in the right place at the right time. But let me tell you something I learned early. Opportunity doesn't reward emotion, it rewards preparation. The wealthy don't rely on hope. They don't operate out of panic. They don't throw darts in the dark and pray for a bullseye. No, they get ready. They stay ready. Because they know that the time to prepare is long before the opportunity arrives. Now, I've watched this play out over and over again. In business, in investing, in life, the masses react emotionally, the prepared act intentionally, That's why when the economy shakes, some lose everything while others quietly buy assets at a discount and come out wealthier. The difference isn't excess, it's readiness. It's not about luck, it's about clarity. And clarity only comes when you've done the homework ahead of time. I remember once early in my career, I was offered a small stake in a company that was just getting started. Now, at the time, I didn't have much, but I had studied, I had saved, I had kept my eyes open. And because I was ready, I could say yes. A few years later, that small decision paid off big. Not because I got emotional and jumped, but because I had prepared for the day when opportunity might knock. And it did. See, wealth doesn't always show up with a neon sign. It shows up quietly, wrapped in risk, and disguised as work. If you're too caught up in panic or too short on cash, you miss it. If you're always reacting to life, you're not in position to shape it. So you've got to prepare, learn about markets, understand how money moves. Pay attention to trends, not to follow the crowd, but to see what's coming around the corner. Keep a portion of your finances liquid, not all of it, but enough so that if an opportunity arises, you don't need to scramble. Think about this like a farmer. The farmer doesn't plant in panic. He doesn't guess the weather. He prepares the soil. He studies the seasons. He waits. And when the time is right, he plants, and later he reaps. The market works much the same way. Winter doesn't last forever, but only those who've gathered in autumn have anything to carry through the cold. Emotion is expensive. It causes you to buy when things are high and sell when things are low. It makes you chase fads and flee from fundamentals. But preparation, it makes you calm. It keeps you steady. It gives you the power to choose, while others are forced to react. That's the difference between surviving and succeeding. So don't just wait for the right moment. Get ready for it. Study when others are sleeping. Save when others are spending. Learn when others are scrolling. Because when opportunity arrives, it rewards those who have already done the work. One of the most dangerous positions to be in financially is to have only one stream of income. Now, I know for a lot of people that's the default. A job, one paycheck, one source. And they say to themselves, well, at least I've got security. But let me ask you something. What happens if that paycheck stops? What happens if the company changes direction, the economy takes a dip, or you get replaced? Suddenly, what felt like security becomes a single point of failure. And in the world of wealth, depending on one source is not safe, it's risky. Wealthy people think differently. They don't hope that one stream lasts forever. They build several, not all at once. No, that's a mistake. But they start with one, just one, and they make it strong. They make it stable. They make it produce more than it costs. And then here's the secret. They take the surplus from that first stream and use it to fund the next. I started with a little business. At the time, it barely paid the bills, but I treated it with care. I treated it like it mattered. I didn't take from it too early. I let it grow. And once it produced enough to take care of my needs, I didn't go out and spend it on things to look rich. I took a portion and planted it elsewhere. Maybe a small investment, maybe a rental property, maybe a new idea. And each one of those became a new stream, a new river feeding into the same ocean. Now, not every stream starts big. Some begin as a trickly a few dollars from a side hustle, a small return on an investment, a product you sell online. But when you water them with discipline, they grow. And when you stack them one after another, you begin to build what I call economic independence, just financial comfort, but true independence. The kind where if one stream dries up, you've still got 5 more flowing. But don't get greedy with this. Don't try to build 10 streams at once. That's how you end up with 10 puddles. Focus. Get the first one right. Build your foundation. And only when it can run on systems, not just your sweat, do you move on to the next. That's how the wealthy do it. They don't stumble into streams, they engineer them. They plan them. They build them with intention. This takes vision, it takes patience, it takes resisting the urge to show off early and staying committed to reinvestment. But eventually, something remarkable happens. You stop trading time for money and your money begins to move on its own. That's when you know you're not just earning, you're multiplying. So don't depend on a single source. Build more. Build wisely. Because real wealth isn't about the size of one paycheck. It's about how many flows you've created that keep paying, even when you don't. If there's one mindset that separates the wealthy from the struggling, it's this: the ability to delay gratification. Most people want to feel rich today, while the wealthy aim to be rich tomorrow and for the rest of their lives. It's a quiet difference, but a powerful one. See? The poor buy comfort. The wealthy invest in freedom. And that difference, when lived daily over years, creates entirely different destinies. Now let me tell you, I didn't always have this kind of thinking. In my early years, I was like most folks. I wanted what looked good. The nice car, the latest gadgets, the big meals out. I thought having things made me successful. But here's the catch: I wasn't building anything, I was consuming. And consumption can feel good briefly, but then the bill shows up. The payment comes due, and you find yourself working harder and harder just to stay where you are. That's the trap of short-term thinking. The first time I really saw the power of long-term thinking was when I started saving not for the weekend, but for the decade. I started asking, what will this decision do for me 10 years from now? Not just tomorrow, not just next month, but 10 years from now. That one question, asked consistently, will start to change your choices. Now, delaying gratification doesn't mean you live like a monk. It doesn't mean you never enjoy yourself. But it does mean you know why you're making the choices you're making. And it means you stop trading permanent outcomes for temporary pleasure. Think about that. Every dollar you spend today is a dollar that could have been working for you tomorrow. Every impulse buy is stealing from your future. And every time you delay a desire, you build something stronger than wealth. You build character. The wealthy ask a different set of questions than the masses. They ask, will this help me own more of my time? Will this increase my capacity to earn? Will this investment buy me freedom or just a fleeting moment of comfort? Those questions guide their spending, their habits, their weekends, even their conversations. I once knew a young man who made a good living but always seemed broke. I asked him where his money went. He told me about the car, the clothes, the vacations. He said, I want to enjoy life while I'm young. I said, that's fine, but will you enjoy it later too? The look on his face said everything. No one had asked him that before. See, it's not about denying joy, it's about shifting your joy to a longer timeline. The kind of joy that compounds, the joy of knowing you're free, not just entertained. So learn to think in decades, not days. Don't just ask what feels good now, ask what builds good later. Every small choice compounds either toward freedom or toward regret. Choose wisely. Because the road to wealth is paved with 1,000 tiny, patient decisions. The secret to lasting wealth isn't just earning more. It's what you do with what you earn. The masses, the moment they make more, they spend more. Lifestyle goes up, expenses go up, and before they know it, they're back where they started, just with nicer shoes. But the wealthy think differently. They understand a principle most people ignore. Don't upgrade your lifestyle, upgrade the machine that produced the profit. You see, profits are not the reward, not at first. Profits are the fuel for your next level. Every dollar that comes in is a decision. You can spend it on comfort, or you can invest it in capacity. And let me tell you, if you consistently choose capacity, the comfort will come, but it will come on your terms, not on borrowed time. I remember when I had my first big month in business. I was tempted, believe me. I looked at the catalogs. I walked past the car lots. I could already feel the leather seats. But then I asked myself a better question. What could I buy that would make sure this month happens again and again and again? And that question changed everything. Instead of buying a toy, I bought tools, better training, a better assistant, a better marketing system. And wouldn't you know it, those things made me even more money the next month. And when that next profit came in, I repeated the process. I reinvested. I expanded. I scaled. Now, I'm not saying don't enjoy your money, but I am saying Enjoy it after it's earned the right to be spent. And how does money earn that right? When it starts multiplying without you constantly having to push it uphill. Reinvestment isn't always flashy. Sometimes it's invisible. It might be a course, a software system, a mentor, a few extra hours learning a new skill, and nobody claps for you when you do that. There's no applause for passing up the designer watch to buy a new CRM. But 5 years from now, people will wonder how you did it. They'll ask, "What's your secret?" And you'll know it wasn't one big thing. It was dozens of little reinvestments made early, made quietly, made consistently. Here's a little test I like to use. When money comes in, ask yourself, will this dollar make me richer or just busier? Because the goal isn't to work harder for every dollar. The goal is to put your dollars to work. Build systems, hire help, automate tasks, multiply your time. That's the difference between the self-employed and the truly wealthy. The self-employed keep trading time for money. The wealthy trade profits for systems that print money while they sleep. So the next time you get a raise, a bonus, or a profit pause, don't rush to upgrade your life. Upgrade your leverage. Reinvest in the machine. Because when you grow the engine, the rewards will follow, and they'll follow for a lifetime. One of the great challenges on the journey to wealth isn't strategy. It's staying motivated long enough to let the strategy work. Most people quit not because the plan failed, but because they lost enthusiasm. They lost energy. They stopped believing. So let me tell you what I've learned. If you want to succeed in the long term, you must learn how to fuel your own fire. And that means building systems not just for your finances, but for your motivation. Now here's where we begin. Start tracking your wins, not just your income, not just your net worth, but your progress. Every week, sit down and ask yourself, what did I do this week that moved me forward financially? Maybe you paid off a little debt. Maybe you read 5 pages of a wealth book. Maybe you held off on an impulse purchase. Doesn't matter how small it seems, if it's progress, it's worthy of your attention. Because what you recognize, you reinforce. What you celebrate, you repeat. I've met people who only celebrate when they reach the mountaintop. But the mountaintop is rare. What's common are the steps, the daily, weekly, often unnoticed steps up the hill. And if you only wait to feel good at the summit, you'll give up halfway. You've got to learn to take joy in the climb. Learn to smile when the habit sticks. Applaud yourself when you say no to comfort and yes to your vision. Motivation grows in motion, not in perfection. And here's another powerful tool. Study people who've done it before. Read their stories. Watch their patterns. There's something deeply motivating about seeing that someone else started from nothing, just like you, and found a way. I remember reading about a man who came to this country with $5 and built a multi-million-dollar business. Not because of luck, not because of privilege, but because he refused to give up. I read that and thought, if he can do it, I can do it. That's the power of biography. It makes belief personal. Now let me give you something critical. Guard your environment. Your mindset is precious soil, and what you allow around you either fertilizes your dreams or poisons them. You can't plant seeds of wealth in a garden of negativity. If your friends only talk about bills and blame, if your family mocks your ambition, if your coworkers complain all day, you've got to protect your mind. That doesn't mean cutting people off. It means becoming intentional about your influence. Seek out people who are climbing like you. Listen to voices that challenge you to think bigger. Find a group online or offline that talks in terms of growth, not scarcity. Because here's the truth. The journey to wealth isn't just about numbers, it's about energy. And motivation isn't something you wait for, it's something you build. You build it by stacking small wins. You build it by choosing inspired input. You build it by staying close to belief, even when the breakthrough hasn't arrived yet. Stay motivated, and you'll stay in motion. And motion, my friend, is what keeps the miracle coming. Let me leave you with this. Wealth isn't just about what's in your wallet. It's about what's in your mind, your daily habits, and the quiet decisions you make when no one's watching. The wealthy don't think in terms of survival, they think in terms of strategy. They don't ask, how can I get through the week? They ask, what can I build in 5 years? That's the shift. That's where it starts. Not with luck, not with a lottery, but with a quiet decision, your decision to start thinking differently today. You don't have to have all the answers right now. You don't need to own 10 businesses by next week, but you do need to start. Start by tracking your money. Start by reading the right books. Start by changing your circle. Start by doing one small thing daily that future you will thank you for. Because success isn't something you chase, it's something you attract by the person you become. Now the call is simple. Don't let this message just inspire you. Let it change you. Inspiration is momentary. Transformation is intentional. Don't just listen and go back to normal. Choose discipline over excuses. Choose focus over comfort. Choose to think long-term in a world that glorifies quick pleasure. The future belongs to those who prepare for it brick by brick, day by day. So build your routines, think clearly, act boldly, live wisely. Wealth isn't a secret, it's a result. And now you know the steps. The rest, my friend, is up to you. Let the journey begin, and may the rewards find you prepared.